The luxurious Golden Lotus restaurant buzzed with the quiet hum of wealth. Crystal chandeliers glowed softly above tables draped in fine silk, where the city's elite dined on gourmet delicacies. Among them, a man in a simple black jacket and jeans entered, looking around curiously. His warm smile was met with a few skeptical glances from diners, but he paid no mind and walked toward an empty table. A young waiter, immaculately dressed in a white uniform, approached with an air of arrogance. His eyes flicked up and down the newcomer, judging his casual outfit. "Excuse me, sir," he said, forcing a polite tone. "This restaurant has a dress code. We don't usually serve people dressed like this." The man's smile didn't falter. "I was just hoping to try the food here," he said kindly. "I've heard great things about it." The waiter sighed dramatically. "I'm afraid we cater to a certain clientele, sir. Our guests appreciate a refined atmosphere, and, well, we have a reputation to maintain." Nearby, a group of wealthy diners chuckled as they watched the scene unfold. One of them leaned over to whisper, "Some people don't know their place." The man still showed no anger. Instead, he tilted his head slightly and asked, "Are you saying I don't belong here?" "I'm saying this restaurant isn't for just anyone," the waiter said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Perhaps a fast food place down the street would be more suitable for you." The man chuckled softly. "That's interesting. You see, I've been here before and I didn't have any trouble then." The waiter crossed his arms. "With all due respect, sir, unless you have a reservation or know the owner personally, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." At that moment, the restaurant manager, an older gentleman in a sharp suit, emerged from the back. His eyes widened in shock when he spotted the man at the center of the commotion. He hurried over, bowing deeply. "Mr. Chan, what an honor to have you here." A hush fell over the room. The arrogant waiter's face drained of color. Jackie Chan, world-famous actor, martial artist, and philanthropist, turned back to the waiter, still smiling. "Ah, so you do have a dress code. Does it also require knowing the owner personally?" The manager's eyes darted between Jackie and the trembling waiter. "Sir, I deeply apologize for this misunderstanding. He's new and didn't recognize you." Jackie chuckled, placing a hand on the waiter's shoulder. "No need to be so nervous, but it's important to remember something. Every customer should be treated with kindness no matter how they look." The waiter stammered. I'm so sorry, Mr. Chan, I didn't know." Jackie nodded. "I understand, but you should never judge people by their clothes." He turned to the manager. "Please make sure everyone is treated equally here. A restaurant is only as good as the way it welcomes its guests." The manager bowed again. "Of course, sir, it won't happen again." Jackie smiled and sat down as the waiter hurried off, still shaken. The once amused diners now sat in silence, embarrassed by their earlier laughter. Soon a feast was placed before him, and Jackie dug in, enjoying the meal. But more than the food, he was satisfied knowing that a lesson had been learned that night, one that would not be forgotten. As Jackie Chan enjoyed his meal, the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. The whispers had died down, replaced by a newfound respect. A few of the wealthier patrons who had laughed earlier now avoided his gaze, embarrassed by their own judgment. The waiter, still shaken, stood near the entrance, glancing nervously at Jackie. The manager had given him a stern talking to, but Jackie's words lingered in his mind more than any reprimand ever could. He had insulted a man not just of great fame, but of great humility and kindness. Summoning his courage, the waiter approached Jackie's table hesitantly. "Sir, I just wanted to say again that I am truly sorry for how I treated you." His voice was sincere, his arrogance now gone. "I judged you unfairly, and I realize now that was wrong." Jackie looked up, his eyes warm. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Have a seat." The waiter hesitated. "Oh, I couldn't." Jackie grinned. "Why not? You work here, right? You should know what the food tastes like." The manager, who had been watching anxiously, gave the waiter a small nod, and he slowly sat down. A fellow waiter placed a small plate of dumplings in front of him, and Jackie pushed one toward him. "Try it," he said. The young man, still unsure, picked up a dumpling and took a bite. His eyes widened. "It's amazing," Jackie nodded. "See? Food isn't about who's rich or poor. It's about bringing people together." He leaned forward slightly. "You know, I wasn't always famous. I used to work in restaurants, washing dishes and cleaning floors. I know how tough this job can be." The waiter's eyes widened. "You did?" Jackie nodded. "That's why I respect people who work hard. But respect should go both ways. If I had treated customers badly back then, I wouldn't be where I am today." The waiter lowered his head, realizing how wrong he had been. "I understand now. I won't make the same mistake again." Jackie smiled, patting him on the shoulder. "Good. Everyone deserves kindness, no matter who they are." As the waiter got up, his posture was different, not stiff with pride, but humble with newfound wisdom. The night continued, and as Jackie finished his meal, the manager personally escorted him to the exit. The once arrogant waiter held the door, open, bowing deeply. "Thank you, sir, and I hope you visit again." Jackie chuckled. "I will. Just make sure next time you greet every guest with the same respect." With that, he walked out into the night, leaving behind not just an empty plate, but a lasting lesson that would change the restaurant forever. The night air was cool as Jackie stepped outside, the neon lights of the city flickering around him. He glanced back at the Golden Lotus, a small smile on his lips. He had come for a simple meal, but left having taught an important lesson. Inside, the restaurant staff was still buzzing. The waiter, now humbled, stood near the entrance, reflecting on everything that had happened. His colleagues gave him knowing looks, some shaking their heads, others smirking. The lesson wasn't just for him. It was for everyone who had witnessed the moment. The manager approached him and sighed. "You got lucky, you know. If that had been anyone else, you might have lost your job tonight." "I know," the waiter admitted. "But I'm glad it was him. He taught me more in a few minutes than I've learned in my whole time working here." The manager chuckled. "Jackie Chan has a way of doing that." The days passed, and word of the incident spread. Some customers who had been at the restaurant that night shared the story online. "Waiter insulted Jackie Chan not knowing he owned the place," became a trending headline. People commented on how gracefully Jackie handled the situation, how he didn't use his power to humiliate but instead to teach. Meanwhile, the waiter, now more self-aware, changed his attitude completely. He greeted every guest with genuine warmth, regardless of their appearance. He took pride in his work, not just in serving the wealthy but in making every customer feel welcome. One evening, about a week later, a familiar figure walked through the doors. Jackie Chan had returned, this time in a sleek black suit. The same waiter who once turned him away now stood at the entrance. For a brief moment, nerves flickered in his eyes, but then he straightened up and smiled. "Welcome back, sir," he said with a respectful bow. "Your table is ready." Jackie grinned. "That's more like it." As he was led inside, Jackie noticed a change in the atmosphere. There was more warmth, more humility among the staff. He sat down at his table, and when the same waiter brought his meal, Jackie gestured toward an extra chair. "Sit," he said again. The waiter blinked, remembering the last time he was invited to do so. "Really?" Jackie nodded. "Tell me, what have you learned?" The waiter sat carefully, choosing his words. "That respect isn't about how much money someone has. It's about treating everyone with kindness, no matter who they are." Jackie smiled, satisfied. "Good. That's how you make a place truly luxurious." As he took the first bite of his meal, Jackie knew this visit had been even better than the last. He had come back not just for the food, but to see if a lesson had truly been learned. And it had. Some people teach with power, others teach with humility. Jackie Chan had done both with just a smile, a kind word, and a plate of food. As Jackie enjoyed his meal, he noticed the subtle yet significant changes in the restaurant. The energy was different, warmer, more inviting. The staff carried themselves with newfound humility, and the once arrogant waiter moved gracefully between tables, serving guests with genuine respect. Jackie's quiet lesson had rippled far beyond that single moment. It had reshaped the very culture of the Golden Lotus. Halfway through his meal, the restaurant manager approached with a nervous but hopeful expression. "Mr. Chan, may I ask you something?" Jackie nodded, setting down his chopsticks. "Of course." The manager hesitated, then leaned in slightly. "Would you be interested in officially endorsing the Golden Lotus? Perhaps as a partner?" The question caught Jackie by surprise, but he simply chuckled. "You're offering me a stake in my own restaurant?" The manager's face turned red. Well, I meant as an honorary partner, of course. After all, your words alone have done more for this place than any marketing campaign could." Jackie thought for a moment, then shook his head with a smile. "I don't need a title. A great restaurant isn't about who owns it, it's about how it makes people feel. As long as this place continues to treat every guest with kindness, you won't need my name to make it special." The manager nodded, clearly understanding. "We'll make sure of that, sir." Jackie returned to his meal, but his presence had already inspired another shift in the restaurant's reputation. News outlets picked up the story, customers flocked to experience the transformed service, and even the wealthiest regulars began to appreciate the restaurant in a new light. One evening, months later, the young waiter, now a senior staff member, watched as a man in plain clothes hesitated at the entrance. The man looked uncomfortable, uncertain if he belonged. The waiter smiled warmly and approached him. "Welcome to the Golden Lotus. Let me find you a nice table." The man's face lit up with relief. As he followed the waiter inside, neither of them knew that Jackie Chan, sitting quietly at his usual corner table, had witnessed the moment. Jackie simply smiled, took a sip of his tea, and thought, "Lesson learned." As Jackie sat in his corner sipping his tea, a deep sense of satisfaction filled him. The Golden Lotus had changed, not just in reputation, but in heart. It was no longer just a place for the wealthy. It had become a place where anyone, regardless of status, could feel welcome. The young waiter, now confident and respectful, moved between tables with ease. He had become a shining example of what Jackie had hoped to teach, that respect and kindness were the true marks of greatness. Just as Jackie was about to finish his meal, a group of well-dressed businessmen entered. Their suits were sharp, their watches expensive. They spoke loudly, laughing in a way that suggested they were used to getting their way. As they took their seats, one of them waved the waiter over impatiently. "You there," one of the men said. "Make sure our food comes. Out quickly. We have important people waiting on us." The waiter remained calm and professional, nodding with a polite smile. "Of course, sir, we treat every guest with the same priority." The businessman scoffed. "Every guest? Ha! Do you even know who we are?" A hush fell over the nearby tables. The staff exchanged nervous glances, some remembering the night Jackie had been treated unfairly. But this time it was different. This time, the lesson had been learned. The waiter didn't flinch. He simply smiled and said, "Sir, at the Golden Lotus, we don't judge by status. We serve all our guests with equal care." Jackie watched with amusement, recognizing the same arrogance in these men that he had once been on the receiving end of. But now the restaurant didn't cater to such attitudes. It stood for something more. The businessman frowned, clearly not used to being spoken to this way. But before he could respond, Jackie stood up and walked toward their table. The men's laughter faded as they recognized him. Jackie Chan," one of them stuttered. Jackie smiled. "Good evening, gentlemen. I hope you enjoy your meal." The businessman who had spoken first quickly forced a grin. "Oh, of course. We were just joking around." Jackie nodded, then turned to the waiter. "You handled that well." The waiter beamed with pride. "I learned from the best." Jackie patted him on the shoulder. "Keep up the good work." As he made his way to the exit, the restaurant staff and diners alike watched him with admiration. He had come in as just another guest, but left as a silent guardian of the values that now defined the Golden Lotus. Stepping out into the cool night air, Jackie glanced back one last time. The Golden Lotus wasn't just a luxury restaurant anymore. It was a symbol of respect, humility, and kindness. Smiling to himself, he walked away, knowing that he had changed more than just a restaurant. He had changed lives. Months passed and the Golden Lotus flourished. The story of Jackie Chan's unexpected visit and the lesson he had taught spread far beyond the restaurant's walls. News articles, social media posts, and even local TV stations covered the transformation of the once exclusive establishment into a place known for its hospitality and fairness. One evening, Jackie returned, but this time, he wasn't alone. He brought a group of young martial arts students, kids from underprivileged backgrounds whom he had been mentoring. They were excited but nervous, dressed in simple clothes, unsure if they belonged in such a fancy place. As they stepped inside, the same young waiter, now a senior staff member, spotted Jackie and immediately approached with a wide smile. "Welcome back, Mr. Chan." Then, looking at the kids, he bowed respectfully. "And welcome to all of you." Jackie smiled. "These kids have worked hard. I thought they deserved a special meal." The waiter nodded. "Right this way, sir. We've got a table ready for you." The students were in awe. The Golden Lotus, once a place that might have turned them away, now welcomed them with open arms. As they sat down, they glanced nervously at the expensive table settings, unsure of how to behave. Sensing their hesitation, Jackie leaned in and whispered, "Don't worry about the forks and knives. Just enjoy the food." The kids laughed, easing up. As the dishes arrived, they eagerly dug in, their faces lighting up with every bite. From across the room, some regulars who had been dining at the Golden Lotus for years watched with curiosity. A few raised their eyebrows, still holding on to old ideas about who belonged in such a high-class restaurant, but others, including those who had been there on the night of Jackie's lesson, simply smiled, knowing that this was exactly what made the Golden Lotus special now. As the evening went on, the restaurant buzzed with warmth. Some of the wealthier patrons even struck up conversations with the kids, asking about their martial arts training and their dreams. One of the students, a shy boy named Wei, hesitated before speaking up. "I want to be like Jackie Chan one day," he said quietly. Jackie ruffled his hair. "Then you have to work hard, be kind, and never judge anyone by how they look. That's the real secret to success." The waiter, standing nearby, smiled to himself. He had learned that lesson firsthand. As Jackie and the kids finished their meal, the manager approached with a respectful bow. "Mr. Chan, it's always an honor to have you here. Tonight's meal is on the house." Jackie shook his head with a grin. No. Treat us like any other guests. If you start making exceptions, you'll forget the lesson." The manager chuckled. "You're right, as always." After paying the bill, Jackie led his students toward the exit. Before stepping out, he turned and took one last look around the restaurant, seeing a place that had truly changed, not just in service, but in spirit. The Golden Lotus was no longer just a luxury restaurant. It was a place where anyone, from businessmen to kids with big dreams, could share a table. As Jackie walked into the night, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Some lessons fade, but the one he had taught here would last for generations.